Today we're watching top 11 or top 10 things that you didn't know about the 11th Doctor by WhoCulture. I was just earlier today listening to Bulls Trek review a bunch of season 15 episodes. Bulls Trek is an example of a YouTuber who had like a good view of Doctor Who. For a while, had a normal view of Doctor Who and other shows on his channel that he would talk about. And then by like 2017, all of his videos since then have just been him angrily ranting with the same tone about the show. And so I was watching his reviews of some of the last couple of Ncuti Gatwa seasons, and he said Ncuti Gat was the worst Doctor. And I was watching his Reality War video review, and yeah, I didn't even get to the part where they talk about like the Billy Piper regeneration, but I remember Mr. TARDIS reviews saying how that kind of makes the show feel like it's writing itself into a corner. And the fact that the show's not coming back till Christmas 2026, it's like, I feel like the worst thing they could do is have Billy Piper's character only be there for like 2 minutes, and then she regenerates into whoever's playing the next Doctor. I think that is such a complete waste. It would definitely be like the show only, because some of these reviewers seem to think that the show brings in these gimmicks like Billy Piper's after regenerating just to get the fans talking, just to get the fans thinking and wondering, when like it comes off as really stupid, like the show's being a parody of itself, like it has been in the past several years at times. And so yeah, man, like I just want to look back at Doctor Who fondly again. The 11th Doctor was my first Doctor. Series 5 was my first season back in 2011 when I was watching. Heck yes. So let's watch.
He's the Doctor who proclaimed that bow ties, fezzes and Stetsons were cool. He's the Doctor who married River Song, the best character, visited his own grave and journeyed to the centre of the TARDIS.
Epic.
He is the 11th Doctor.
Underrated episode, Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS. I kind of want to watch
Matt
that.
Smith became an instant fan favourite back in 2010, despite having some pretty big converse to fill. He had 3 main companions, 2 TARDIS interiors and 1 sonic screwdriver. And there are many interesting details about his era you might not be aware of. I'm Ellie for WhoCulture, here with 10 things you didn't know about the 11th Doctor. Number 10. His favourite dance was improvised.
Oh, cool.
The 11th Doctor was
the giraffe dance?
trailblazer, inventing the
I'm not gonna do
quadricycle,
that.
Yorkshire puddings, fish custard and pasta, allegedly. But arguably his most enduring innovation was devised by Matt Smith himself. Upon arriving at Amy and Rory's wedding, the Doctor declares that he only came for the dancing, before breaking into a routine hilariously dubbed the Drunk Giraffe.
See, this was a good season arc. Like, the Doctor, like, he has to, like, fix the universe from a rift and tries to bring himself back out of an exploding TARDIS by, like, save himself by, like, planting the memory of him, like, in Amy's subconscious while, like, she's listening in her sleep.
Basically, just
and
stick
that's
your
how
arms
he
in the
comes
air
back.
on either
It's
side of
nice.
your head and wiggle them from side to side. Simple, yet bound to make you the talk of the family Christmas.
Oh, that's gonna
card.
make me
As
sad.
Karen Gillan recalled to Doctor
The
Who
final
Confidential,
episode.
this iconic arm-shaking action was ad-libbed by Matt Smith.
That's so cool.
She said, quote,
I
"It was
didn't know
written obviously that he's a terrible dancer. Matt made up this whole routine. Arthur Darvill concurred that, quote, this is just how he dances, with Stephen Moffat adding that, quote, he's incredibly athletic and graceful in his own way. It's hardly the most stylish dance ever, but it was a hit with the kids at the Pond's wedding and a whole generation of young fans watching at home. Maybe don't go doing it at weddings in real life though." Number 9. His hair was quite problematic. The 11th Doctor's quiff is almost as iconic as his bow tie, but it was also something of a continuity nightmare. This was a particular problem in A Time of Angels, the first story Matt Smith filmed, with the actor's wild hair magically changing length between scenes. For the beach scenes at the start of the episode, Smith had a much messier hairstyle, with his fringe hanging over his eyes. Coupled with windy conditions, this had the unfortunate effect of obscuring his face, with showrunner Stephen Moffat.
That's so cool that was the first episode that they filmed, and that was the first ever Doctor Who episode that I actually watched,
likening him to the Dulux dog. The earliest scene in the Delirium Archive Museum was filmed months later,
and it got me
at which
hooked.
point the crew had, according to
10.
Moffat, quote, established what they wanted to do with Smith's floppy mop of hair. The overall silhouette remained, but the fringe was cut short.
I remember this
and
episode.
in a much more continuity-friendly way. This also explains why the 11th Doctor's hair gets progressively neater and less chaotic over the course of his next 2 series. He had time to figure out how best to manage it. Ironically, by the time of Smith's final story, he had no hair whatsoever, having shaved it all off for his role in the Ryan Gosling movie Lost River. Talk about cutting your hair to spite your face. Number 8. He increased bow tie sales by over 90%.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
As genuinely fashionable, and few Doctor Who costume designers can be described as genuine trendsetters. But the bow tie and tweed ensemble devised by Ray Holman for Matt Smith's Doctor made waves in a way that nobody could have predicted. Matt Smith's debut series began at the start of April.
And he got that from Patrick Troughton, didn't he? Yeah.
2010, and bow ties are cool quickly became one of his trademark lines.
Bow ties are cool. Bow ties are cool. Bow ties are cool. Bow ties are cool. Bow ties are cool.
Plenty of people agreed with him too. By the end of the month, the Telegraph was reporting that the bow tie had enjoyed a, quote, surge in popularity thanks to the 11th Doctor, with UK retailer Topman citing an insane 94% increase in sales. It's an even more impressive feat when you consider that by this point, only 4 episodes of Series 5 had aired. We can only imagine how many bow ties were sold over the following weeks and beyond. It also makes you wonder what the Doctor's next viral fashion accessory might be. Only time will tell, I guess, but if any Doctor can challenge for that coveted Best Dressed award, then it's definitely Ncuti Gatwa.
Probably.
Number 7.
6th Doctor's outfit is really good too. So is the 7th Doctor's outfit.
He encountered so many duplicates. Most Doctors have
He encountered,
contend
yeah.
with duplicates of some sort, be they evil lookalikes
Oh, yeah.
or literal splinters of themselves, and the 11th Doctor was no exception.
Yeah.
He came face to fleshy face
Flesh.
with a doppelganger in Rebel Flesh and the Almost People. But the Flesh wasn't the only entity to steal this Doctor's likeness. Prisoner Zero did the same thing in the 11th Hour, as did the Tesselector in The Wedding of River Song.
And
then there's the Spoonhead that impersonates
the Cybermen
in
one.
Bells of St.
Nightmare
John,
in Silver.
and Mr. Clever in Nightmare in Silver. And that's without even mentioning all the cases where timey-wimey shenanigans resulted in Matt Smiths appearing on screen. There's the dead future Doctor in The Big Bang, the wibbly lever Doctor in Comic Relief minisode Time, the Beryllium Doctor in DVD minisode Last Night, and the Big Friendly Button Doctor in Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS. The 11th
The
Doctor
what Doctor?
and the Big Friendly Button Doctor in Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS.
I don't know what they're talking
The 11th
about.
Doctor also encounters another copy of himself in Let's Kill Hitler when the TARDIS voice interface
That's a
when he
hologram.
assumes his form. This is surely some kind of record, and almost certainly more than any other Doctor. The BBC
Yeah, 9th and 10th Doctor had their duplicates as well, though.
Matt Smith. Number 6, he was inspired by Indiana Jones.
Really? I didn't know
What
that.
inspired the 11th Doctor?
Really?
There was clearly a hint of Patrick Troughton's
Yes,
second Doctor
Patrick
with the whole
Troughton.
bow tie thing, and Tomb of the Cybermen is also
It was
one
one
of
of his
Matt Smith's
favorites, yeah.
stories as well. Elsewhere, Albert Einstein has also been cited as a key influence. Discussing his costume on Doctor Who Confidential, Smith identified another unlikely reference point in the form of Hollywood's greatest archaeologist. He said, quote, I think the costume sort of manages a bit of, God, do I say this? A bit of Indiana Jones, and a bit of a professor, and a bit of an explorer.
I guess,
Moffat
yeah.
also described the 11th Doctor as, quote, a cross between Indiana Jones and Stan Laurel. Although the comparison might seem strange at first, there's definitely something of the whip-wielding adventure.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see like a Chaplin type Doctor. I guess 2nd Doctor was kind of Buster Keaton like.
About Smith's outfit, particularly with its tan colour scheme. Its resemblance to the bow-tie tweed suit worn by Indy in Temple of Doom is uncanny, and nowhere are the comparisons more on the nose than in Series 6, when the Doctor dons a Stetson hat. Certain 11th Doctor stories have an Indiana Jones aesthetic too. In fact, the torchlit underhenge from the Pandorica Opens is directly inspired by the various caves
I never thought of that.
seen in the Indy movie franchise. And hey, if Smith
Great
is still
movies.
playing the Doctor at the same age Harrison Ford just played Indiana Jones, that means he can appear
Could
in
be.
Doctor Who's 100th anniversary in 2063.
Could
Can
be.
you imagine? Number 5,
So cool.
he almost wasn't played by Matt Smith.
Oh, cool.
Every actor who plays the Doctor ends up becoming synonymous with the character, and
Yeah.
there's always a rigorous audition process to find the show's new lead. Stephen Moffat has since stated that he was initially looking for an older Doctor for number 11, and although Matt Smith and
Yeah, I was just thinking recently, like, who I would want to play the next Doctor. I always thought the Doctor should be played by an older actor, someone in their 40s or 50s. Even though I know the show, like, in the modern day wants to do more action-y stuff, I feel like the Doctor should be older. Even though I love Matt Smith's Doctor.
Urged as an early favourite, lots of other actors were seen for the role. One potential candidate was Chiwetel Ejiofor, who is widely believed to have been offered the role but turned it down. The rumour mill had its own ideas, with Patterson Joseph, who played Roderick in Bad Wolf and the Parting of the Ways, Sean Pertwee, son of third Dr. John Pertwee, and even Billy Piper, speculated to be in the running. Yep, that is serious, Billy Piper. Meanwhile, outgoing showrunner Russell T Davies, who had of course stoked the fire himself by including a fake-out regeneration in The Stolen Earth and titling the 2008 Christmas special The Next Doctor, wanted to see Alonzo and the War Between the Land and the Sea actor Russell Tovey in the role. These are all exciting suggestions in their own right, but no one can deny that Matt Smith was born to play the 11th Doctor. Number 4, he's crossed paths with the Master. Although the 10th, 12th,
No, he
and
didn't.
13th Doctors all got their own masters, the 11th did not, but he has more connections with his Time Lord foe than you might think. For one thing, the first and last episodes to feature Matt Smith both included incarnations of the Master, John Sim in The End of Time,
but he didn't
and Michelle
encounter
Gomez in Deep Breath. Sure, they didn't actually meet, but it's still something. Where the 11th Doctor did
How is that
face
crossing
to face with
paths?
the Master, the Anthony Ainley version in this case, was
Oh, did
an
he?
expanded universe
That
in the
sounds
IDW comic book story Prisoners of Time. Then Titan Comics introduced a brand new incarnation of the Master.
I read the one where the 11th Doctor and the 8th Doctor meet Rose. That was a pretty interesting book. I should have that somewhere in my house.
Master, resembling a young boy in their second year of 11th Doctor adventures. This Master never actually crossed paths with Smith's Doctor, but did cause plenty of trouble for him from behind the scenes. When you take all of this into account, the 11th Doctor has been adjacent to all of the main Masters, save for Delgado and Dewar. Not bad for a Doctor who never met the character on TV, eh? Number 3, his bow ties have a colourful sequin.
How can a bow tie have a secret, you know? But like, I also wanted to say, like, I saw Matt Smith a little bit in episode 1 of House of Dragons. Didn't watch more. I like the world building. I wish they did a bit more, just based on one episode. And it's cool to see Matt Smith in a role like that. Just like it's cool to see like Billy Piper in different roles, such as I Hate Susie. I think she executive produced that. Did she write it too? It's cool to see Karen Gillan and other stuff too. Her career arguably took off the most after Doctor Who. So yeah.
Secret. The 11th Doctor certainly has a good dress sense, and there's more to his outfits than meets the eye. It's not an exact science, but some fans have noticed that the colour scheme of the Doctor's bow tie in Series 5 corresponds to the time period he's visiting. Red for the future and present, and blue for past.
I didn't realize that.
The 13th Doctor's magenta t-shirt tended to appear more in historical stories, so too did the 11th Doctor's blue bow tie, featuring in all 3 Series 5 historicals: Victory of the Daleks, The Vampires of Venice, and Vincent and the Doctor. Conversely, most of the contemporary and future set stories of Series 5 feature the red bow tie. The only exceptions to the rule are the Lodger, which uses the blue outfit, the Pandorica Opens and the Big Bang, which uses the red one, and Amy's Choice, which uses both. And to be fair, in those last 2 cases, those stories are either set within dreams or they hop about all over the place. So there wasn't really a correct bow tie colour to assign them. This bow tie rule also continues into Series 6, though again with a few exceptions. It also continues a similar detail found in the Eccleston and Tennant era time vortexes, which were blue whenever the TARDIS was travelling backwards in time, and
that's a cool detail, really.
red whenever it went forwards. Eagle-eyed fans will also notice that there are 2 different tweed jackets worn by Smith in Series 5. The more checkered tweed worn in Victory of the Daleks and the Time of Angels and Flesh and Stone, and the more textured tweed worn across the rest of the series. You already knew bow ties were cool, but this takes things to a whole other level. Good luck unseeing this, by the way. Number 2, he has more stories than any modern Doctor.
Oh, does he?
Which Doctor has the most stories? It's always a contentious topic, not least because there are so many different ways to count them. Is Flux 1 story or 6? Are 2-parters 1 story or 2? And is Utopia, The Sound Drums and Last of the Time Lords really a 3-parter? Please discuss. Anyway, whichever way you square it, the 11th Doctor comes out on top compared to every other new series Doctor. Counting
individual
2-parters
episodes
as 1 story and Utopia as a standalone, each
Yeah, I
series
guess.
of Russell T Davies's first era contains 10 stories.
I guess Utopia is standalone compared to Sound of Drums Last of Time.
Accounting for specials leaves the 9th Doctor with 10 stories in total, and the 10th Doctor with 37. In contrast, the 11th Doctor had a more inconsistent series structure, with more standalone episodes and fewer two-parters. Series 5 was 10 stories long, while Series 6 had 11. Meanwhile, Series 7 was entirely comprised of single-part adventures,
Yeah, I remember.
13 of them. With specials added into the mix, the 11th Doctor's story total
So, like,
stands at an impressive 39,
two
which is
parters.
more than the 12th and 13th Doctor's totals too. So yes,
Really,
they're
yeah.
all stories in the end, but the 11th Doctor more than most. Number 1, his defining moment almost didn't happen. The 11th
speech?
Doctor had countless
Pandorica
memorable
speech?
moments, from his speeches in the Pandorica Opens and the Rings of Apaten.
So this is
to
defining moment,
integrating
11th
Colin
hour or
and
something?
Riding up the Shard. But one of his defining scenes
This, I was
wasn't
thinking
conceived of until the 11th hour. Get it?
I knew
Get
it.
I'll stop anyway. Towards the end of the Series 5 opener, the Doctor unmasks Prisoner Zero and hands him over to the Atraxi. The all-seeing aliens
Great
swiftly
story.
depart, only to be called back by the Doctor
One of my
for a
favorites.
scolding. If this scene seems slightly tacked on,
This is an example of a story I love so much that I'm not gonna rewatch it for at least a couple of years. Because last time I rewatched it was like summer 2024. I don't want to ruin it for myself after all these years by rewatching it so much.
It was, as Stephen Moffat admitted during the 11th hour's lockdown tweet-along.
So the camera battery died about 30 seconds before the video got complete. About bow ties and stuff. Very interesting video. That was really fascinating that they color-coded the shirts. I didn't even realize that. That's not something I would have ever picked up on. Blue shirt for historical stories, red shirt for typically futuristic stories. And I did not know that for the time vortex in the Russell T Davies era. Blue moving forward, blue for history, and red for future. Wow, that's such a cool attention to detail. Anyway, let's move on to top 10 things you didn't know about the 12th Doctor. Yes, I talked about in my previous Doctor Who video how I would love to look back at the 12th Doctor era more fondly. He used to be my favorite Doctor for some time. I would love to be the type of fan that's like, the 12th Doctor is so underrated. But yeah, like, I still love Series 10. Series 9, I feel the same way about it when it aired 10 years ago. You respect some of the darker tones, but a lot of the other aspects are very cringe, like the Doctor's kind of social awkward midlife crisisness. And then Series 8 I like a little bit less than when it first aired. But that being said, let's jump right in.
Hello everybody, Ellie here, and today we're going to talk about attack eyebrows.
I like Husbands of River Song. It's a solid story.
Hello everybody, Ellie here, and today we're going to talk about attack eyebrows. We know that the 12th...
It would have been so cool if at the end of Twice Upon a Time that they referenced the 50th anniversary.
Here, and today we're going to talk about attack eyebrows. We know that the 12th Doctor is a good man and enjoys punching the occasional wall, but there are loads more interesting elements of the character and his era.
Not a big fan of his regeneration speech, honestly.
That will no doubt tickle your...
This is a cool scene where he's acting like the first time seeing the bigger on the inside.
Or pudding brain. Here are 10 things you didn't know about the 12th
Let's
Doctor.
go!
Number 10, the colour of his kidneys.
Okay.
Famously, the 12th Doctor's
I've got new
first
kidneys.
thoughts were his
Don't like the
distaste
colour.
for the colour of his kidneys. Which begs the rather unusual question of whether Time Lords can change the colour of their organs during regeneration.
Oh, is this the barbershop episode?
I mean, they can change everything else, so why not?
Still not
While
ginger.
there's never been a definitive answer over the Time Lord's colour-changing internals, former showrunner Stephen Moffat did reveal the colour that had so greatly offended the 12th Doctor during the final moments of the Time of the Doctor. In his Ask the Showrunner column back in Doctor Who magazine issue 477,
I've actually never read Doctor Who magazine.
Moffat responded that the 12th Doctor's kidneys were coloured, quote,
Prune?
This is an entirely new colour, which only
What
the
the
Doctor
fuck?
can see. Moffat obviously had his tongue firmly in his cheek while typing this.
This is just like, I think Mr. TARDIS Review said this, how Terry Nation used to tell people, like, when people asked him how did he come up with the name for the Daleks, and he said something about, like, the spine of an encyclopedia, and he said for an English words, starting with Dal, ending with Lek, and that was one of his books. But then it turned out he made that story up, because how many English words start and end with Lek, right? So yeah, I don't think he ever revealed the true reason how he came up with the Daleks' names.
But it's a fun idea that the Doctor is such an advanced being that he can see colours that us mere mortals can't even comprehend. However, Stephen Moffat doesn't reveal how the Doctor knew that his kidneys were froom-coloured, just another mystery of the Time Lord regenerative process.
Okay.
Number 9. Peter Capaldi's actual skull
What?
was used in Heaven Sent.
Oh, like a 3D
One of
printer?
the many striking images in the classic 12th Doctor episode Heaven Sent is the lake full of skulls.
Oh man, oh wow.
It's a grim
So poetic, so dark.
image, hinting at the impossibly large number of times the Doctor has endured the confession dial.
I don't know if Doctor Who will ever make an episode like this again, where it's like the first person narration, delving into his psychology, delving into him overcoming his fears and depressions and stuff.
However, it takes on an even grimmer tone when you realise that those skulls are actually Peter Capaldi's. Millennium FX producer Kate Walsh revealed this morbid detail after the episode went out, having previously taken a cast of Peter Capaldi's head to create the ghost version of the Doctor in Under the Lake and Before the Flood.
Do you guys like Under the Lake Before the Flood? I want to like it more. It has the elements of time travel and groundedness that are interesting. Just something about it just doesn't hit.
They were able to use that cast to recreate the skulls in Heaven Sent. Number 7. His regeneration speech was inspired by Peter Capaldi.
What does that
The
mean?
12th Doctor's final speech, imploring his future self to laugh hard, run fast, be kind, featured a moment inspired by Peter Capaldi himself. Months earlier, during promotion for his final series, Capaldi did various press interviews during which he spoke
Capaldi writing the
about
show
the
for
Doctor's
Moffat.
name. In one of them, he said, quote, "I don't think human beings can even really say his name, but I think they might be able to hear it. It's like a frequency. If the stars are in the right place, and the heart is in the right place, then you'll hear it."
Interesting idea.
That's because Stephen Moffat directly incorporated this into the 12th Doctor's final speech in Twice Upon a Time. Moffat later confirmed that he'd lifted this line from Capaldi during an interview with Crystal D on Doctor Who The Fan Show. It's a beautiful sentiment that flows perfectly with the enchanting tone Moffat brought to the narration with Capaldi to write the final speech, ensuring that the actor had, quote, the space to do everything that he wanted to do in that scene. Undoubtedly the right move when working with a stalwart like Capaldi.
It turns out the Doctor's name was John Smith the whole time.
Number 6. He's wearing Peter Capaldi's wedding ring. Throughout his era... Number 5. He's the joint oldest Doctor.
Yep.
There's a gag in Twice Upon a Time in which the first Doctor eyes
he's like, I'm younger. Like, no, he's not. He's the same age.
I get younger, to which the 12th Doctor replies, I am younger. It's a joke about
It's the
how
same
when
age.
Peter Capaldi first appeared as
If
the
not
12th
older.
Doctor in The Day of the Doctor. He was only 3
Yep,
months
just said
younger
that.
than William Hartnell had been when he played the first Doctor back in 1963. Both Capaldi and Hartnell were 55 at the time they first assumed the role, with Hartnell being born on the 8th of January 1908 and Capaldi being born on the 14th of April 1958. Their similar ages brilliantly
He's like Michael Jackson's age.
that William Hartnell was some ancient old man when he was cast in the role.
Yeah, he did a good job playing an old man.
Didn't really aid this perception. Case in point, David Bradley was 75 when he appeared as the first Doctor in Twice Upon a Time, adding an extra dimension to the joke about who was actually younger. In addition, both John Pertwee and David Tennant were only a few years younger than Capaldi and Hartnell when they played the 3rd and 14th Doctors, respectively. And yes, realising that David Tennant is now the same age as the first Doctor really is quite unfair. Number 4. He was the first modern Doctor to offer jelly babies. Most commonly associated with the 4th Doctor, jelly babies have been carried by a handful
Would you like a jelly baby?
too. The 2nd, 6th, 7th, and 8th Doctors have all carried the popular confection.
Has there been a reference to jelly babies
When
since
the show
then?
came back in 2005, jelly babies appeared to be consigned to the past, as the Master was the only Time Lord to be seen eating them. Peter Capaldi
Basically
changed
gummy
that
bears.
in Mummy on the Orient Express, when he offered Professor
Oh,
Morehouse
yeah.
a jelly baby from a
That's
fancy
a good
cigarette
episode.
case. There's no reference to the case of jelly babies in the script for the episode,
Oh,
which
wow.
suggests that this was an off-the-cuff addition, possibly even a cheeky ad-lib by Peter Capaldi. Writer Jamie Matheson confirmed this in a Reddit Ask Me Anything following the broadcast of Mummy on the Orient Express. Responding to a question about Peter Capaldi's input on scripts, Matheson said, quote, the jelly babies were his idea, which I think we can all agree was genius. Of course it was Peter Capaldi, long-time fan of the show, who suggested...
He met John Pertwee? Wow, that's so cool.
Was such a brilliant and memorable callback to classic Who. We wouldn't be surprised if he'd been carrying that jelly baby case around, just waiting for the right opportunity. Number 3, why his hair got longer. As Peter Capaldi was such a fan of Jon Pertwee, it's tempting to view his hair as a tribute to the Third Doctor. Like Capaldi, Pertwee's hair also started quite short before becoming bigger and bigger as his era wore on. However, Capaldi's decision to grow...
Yeah, if you notice in Deep Breath, his hair is shorter than it was in End of Time of the Doctor. I just said End of Time of the Doctor, too. So, Regeneration stories in one. But yeah, even in this scene, like, he's outside, and when he goes back into the TARDIS, his hair is noticeably longer. That must mean that it took them months to shoot between these scenes. That's crazy.
Grow out his hair was not a deliberate tribute to Jon Pertwee. When asked about his hair at New York Comic Con in 2017, Capaldi explained that he'd always wanted to have longer hair as the Doctor. But in his first series, he had been convinced to wear it shorter, presumably to emphasize the more hardened, sharper characterization of the 12th Doctor. But as his era continued, Capaldi began letting it grow out a bit more. As he explained, quote, I would start pulling at it and not get it cut quite as regularly as I should. I quite liked it getting longer, so by the time we got to the end, by the time we got to the next season, I was brave enough to say, let's keep it. He even joked that if he'd returned for a 4th series, viewers wouldn't have been able to see his face under the expanse of silvery locks. I wonder if the TARDIS has a hairdressing room tucked away somewhere. There's one on the Enterprise D. Number 2, he tried to get Peter Jackson to direct Doctor Who.
Oh, really?
The 12th Doctor era is notable for the fact that 2 movie directors, Ben Wheatley and Rachel Talalay, were hired to direct some of Peter Capaldi's most important episodes.
I didn't know Rachel Talalay was a movie director. Ben Wheatley, I heard that he was. And didn't he direct his first and last episode?
Yes. And that's not all. The Lord of the Rings director Peter Jackson
I remember Peter Jackson saying that he was a fan.
In directing an episode from as far back as 2012. Jackson's love of Doctor Who extended to casting Sylvester McCoy in the Hobbit movies and appearing in the 50th anniversary sketch comedy The Five-ish Doctors. For years,
oh yeah, he was in the Five-ish Doctors, yeah.
Both Jackson and Stephen Moffat were asked about whether the dream partnership between Doctor Who and Lord of the Rings
that would be so cool
happen,
if Peter Jackson directed Doctor Who.
And then out of nowhere, Peter Jackson released a short, scrappy spoof video in 2015 in which the 12th Doctor turned up at his house in New Zealand to get him to sign a contract with the BBC. While Jackson isn't the greatest actor in the world, it's a lot of fun to see Peter Capaldi running around the director's home before being chased out by a Dalek.
Oh, yeah.
Jackson never did sign that contract with the BBC, but in 2018, he reaffirmed his desire to direct Doctor Who. Maybe Peter Capaldi or Sylvester McCoy could, hand over his contact details to Russell T Davies. Number 1, he had a much bigger role in the Time War.
Had a much bigger role in the Time War? Really?
You think? In a truly iconic moment, Peter Capaldi first appeared as the 12th Doctor via a brief shot of his attack eyebrows in The Day of the Doctor. In his 2018 novelisation of the story, Stephen Moffat elaborated on just what the 12th Doctor was up to during that fateful day.
I kind of want to read that.
The Doctors had completed their calculations to shift Gallifrey to safety. The 12th Doctor shows up in the Time Lord's war room. He's there to assure the General that he's enlisted his past and future incarnations to deal with the seismic shifts caused by moving a whole planet into a new dimension. There then follows a thrilling sequence in which the Doctor saves the people of Gallifrey from earthquakes, tidal waves, and tornadoes. Interestingly, back in 2017, there was a rumour doing the rounds that Peter Capaldi and Stephen Moffat's final Doctor Who episode would depict those very events, with David Bradley's first Doctor also along.
That would have been so good.
Obviously, this never happened, minus the first Doctor part. But it's interesting to ponder if someone maybe got their wires all wibbly-wobbly between Stephen Moffat's script for Twice Upon a Time and his novelisation of The Day of the Doctor. Either way, it's satisfying to know that 12 had a bigger role in Gallifrey.
Yep, that's pretty much the end of the video. I'm sure there are fan edits out there of, like, at the end of Twice Upon a Time, Capaldi saves the day, like in the 50th anniversary. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching another one of my Doctor Who reaction videos. See you. Zoe 101 Season 2 ranked best to worst by Johnny 2000. So, a few months ago, back in the summer, I had watched all that for the first time, a couple episodes, and what did I think about it? Well, I could see why, like, Amanda Bynes and Kenan Thompson got so famous. Like, those two were probably the best part about the episodes. Their acting was really good, they were really funny. But I also watched a little bit of Kenan and Kel for the first time in, like, 12 years, and I was watching The Amanda Show around that time, too. So it was interesting to see how like those shows were like before my time. I was born in 2000, so I only ever watched reruns of Kenan and Kel and Amanda's show. It's just interesting some of the social commentary and like the spontaneity of the acting, but like on a basic level, it feels very pulled back for Nickelodeon and how Nickelodeon would evolve by the time Drake and Josh, Zoe 101, Ned's Declassified. Nickelodeon would just get way, way better at their sitcoms. They would just nail their sitcom formula by like 2004 ish. Um, and yeah, by the time you get to iCarly and shows like that, it looks like you can see why shows like that got very popular.